Super Bowl 58. It's going to be a great and exciting game. Unlike some of the narratives that have been talked about, how this game is boring, how no one wanted it, it's going to be a great game, and I can't wait to jump in and preview it and give you my prediction.
You're my first interview since I got injured, so you're lucky. You're a good journalist.
You can compare your swing, the good one and the bad one, so you can see like the difference.
I like to notice that, man.
I love it. Man, I appreciate how good, glad that makes me feel.
So, Super Bowl 58 in Vegas this year, first time in Vegas in Allegiant Stadium. We got a rematch of Super Bowl 54. The Kansas City Chiefs back in the Super Bowl again, taking on the San Francisco 49ers, who are back for the first time since 2020. This is the Chiefs' fourth Super Bowl, in the last 5 years, and it's going to be a really interesting game to see what goes down. 3:30 in Vegas local time. Here it would be 5:30 Central kickoff. I think it's going to be a pretty excellent game between these two. They're evenly matched. The matchups on both sides are pretty interesting, in my opinion, seeing how the Chiefs offense can navigate not really having a true number one, kind of a weaker offense led by Mahomes and Kelsey against a good 49ers defense, which is a little bit weaker than last time. Yeah, Brock Purdy and that number one top 49ers offense going against an improved Chiefs defense led by Steve Spagnuolo, who's done a tremendous job on that front. So both pretty balanced teams, and I think a pretty balanced matchup as well. And I think it's going to be a very close game in Vegas. And here are some of the major storylines, excluding Taylor Swift. We're not going to be talking about that, although that is kind of a storyline anyway. I just had to get that out of the way. Brock Purdy, obviously a great story. Last pick in the 2022 draft, Mr. Irrelevant, can lead this team to a Super Bowl victory. Really, it would be such a tremendous story for the last pick. Step in, last year made to the NFC Championship game, got injured, then lead this team all the way to the Super Bowl. And if they can win it, that would be a tremendous story for him. Obviously, a rematch, we talked about that. Both teams are quite different. You have a couple of guys on the Chiefs that are there. 49ers team has changed a lot. I mean, you still have Kittle, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, some of those guys, Deebo Samuel on the team. For the Chiefs, it's Mahomes and Kelsey and maybe an offensive lineman here or there. Pretty much it's a new squad. Defensively, you have a couple of guys there, but it's going to be a completely different game. And this is Mahomes can win his third Super Bowl in the last 5 years. This is his fourth in the last 5 years. This is a dynasty on its way. Mahomes wins his third in 5. Man, that's tremendous. And then 49ers can also have a chance to finally get over the hump and win a Super Bowl for the first time since 1994 season. They were there in 2013. They were there in 2020. They just couldn't get it done. Here they are again. Maybe they can finally get over it. Now we're going to be breaking down the teams. First of all, we're going to jump right into the quarterbacks here really quick. Mahomes, of course, playing great in the playoffs. Had a good game against the Ravens. Got it done when he needed to. Played good against the Dolphins. He was good against the Bills as well. Hasn't thrown an interception yet, which is nice to see for him. He's 14-3 in the playoffs. Such a great record for him. Only 3 losses, 2 are to Tom Brady, that both were unlucky for him, and the other one was to Joe Burrow in a fair game. Got against the Bills, got his first road win, got his bunch of stats under his belt. Played well against the number one Ravens defense. This year still threw over 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 14 picks was pretty high for him this year. But in the playoffs, he's been killing it and getting it done when he needs to. 6 straight AFC Championship to start his career. What a run from Mahomes. And then you look at Brock Purdy, who we talked about. I have videos on both these quarterbacks. Purdy, of course, made the Pro Bowl, 17-4. 31 touchdowns, 11 picks this year, highest pass rating in the NFL, highest completion percentage in the NFL, 4-1 in the playoffs, 2 fourth quarter comebacks in the playoffs, including the largest comeback in NFC Championship history, all-time single season passing yards leader for the Niners. He's racked up big time numbers, and you got to give this guy some credit. And he's going to be a huge key if he can get it together and not make that big mistake. He's going to give his team a great chance to win. Then you have Kittle and Kelsey, the two best tight ends in the NFL. George Kittle, 65 catches for over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. In the regular season, only 100 yards and 1 touchdown in the playoffs. Kelsey, meanwhile, had really an under the radar, I'd say stats-wise season, not season overall. He was in the news all the time, but kind of a bit lower stats than you normally see from Kelsey. 984 yards, 5 touchdowns on 93 catches. In the regular season, in the playoffs, man, he just took off, which is why Kelsey is the best tight end in the NFL maybe ever. 262 yards, 23 catches and 3 total touchdowns. And he's also the favorite for Super Bowl MVP. I mean, if he plays like he did against the Ravens, 10 catches for however many, 100 and couple yards and 2 touchdowns, he'll win MVP for sure. So Kelsey and Kittle, Kelsey's obviously a much bigger key. Niners can still get it done even if Kittle doesn't have a big game. And then you talk about the Niners' weapons across the board. They are stacked, which is why they're such a great team this year and why it's going to be a tough task for the Chiefs defense. You got Christian McCaffrey, Offensive Player of the Year, racked up big time numbers, over 2,000 total yards this year with 21 total touchdowns, had 564 yards receiving, 1,500 yards rushing. And then he got it done in the playoffs, 200 total yards, 4 touchdowns combined against the Lions and Packers. And then Brandon Ayuk has been a great wide receiver number 2 for this team. He wasn't there in the first Super Bowl. 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 8 for 70 and 1 touchdown against the Lions in the NFC Championship game. And then you talk about Deebo Samuel, who of course was there before. These weapons are too good, man. And I think it gives the Niners a real good shot of winning this game if they can all be clicking. Deebo, 900 yards on 60 catches, had 230 rushing yards with 5 touchdowns, and had 9 for 90 against the Lions. So if all 3 of them go off, it's going to be really hard for the Chiefs. And then you talk about now the Chiefs' weapons, kind of limited this year. I already talked about Kelsey. Isaiah Pacheco, to me, is a huge key in this game. 200 carries this year for 935 yards and 7 touchdowns. Had 244 combined yards with 2 touchdowns in the playoffs. He's been cooking. He's been running strongly hard. He's been running with a mission in mind. And he's a great weapon. He has to get going. And then Rashee Rice, to me, is a huge weapon for Patrick Mahomes this year. Is a number 1. 80 catches for 900 yards, 7 touchdowns. He had 12 catches for 130 and a touchdown against the Dolphins. He's going to be a big weapon and go-to receiver for Mahomes. And then Marquez Valdes-Scantling's been getting it done in the big games, in the clutch. He's been making some big catches. So he's going to have to get it done in the clutch. And Rashee Rice has got to do his thing along with Pacheco on the ground. Now moving on to the defense. Chris Jones and Nick Bosa up front. Those are the 2 keys. Bosa made some plays in Super Bowl 54. Has got to make some now against Mahomes. He had 10.5 sacks, 34 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and he had 2 sacks against the Lions. He came through when he needed to. So he's going to have to somehow get pressure on Mahomes. As for Chris Jones, he's going to have to stop the run. That's the primary goal. 10.5 sacks, 20 tackles, maybe get after Brock Purdy and make him uncomfortable. And then the linebackers, man, Fred Warner is the best there is right now. He is so great all over the field. And Nick Bolton had a fumble recovery for a touchdown in Super Bowl 57. He's going to have to make plays all over the field against a stacked Niners offense. And then finally, the secondary to me is just dominated by the Chiefs. Niners don't really have too strong of a secondary. For the Chiefs, you have L'Jarius Sneed, who's been a lockdown corner this year. He's been great. Then you have Trent McDuffie, who's really stepped up his second year. He's been great. And then you have Justin Reed in the secondary, in the safety spot, who's been great as well. So to me, the Chiefs secondary is really strong. And now let's get into overall assessing who has the advantage in each spot. We'll start with the offense. I think it's a tie pretty much on offense. Quarterback obviously goes to the Chiefs, Mahomes. Running back, McCaffrey. Wide receivers, you got Deebo and Ayuk, which is better than what the Chiefs have. Tight end, you'd go Kelsey. Offensive line, I'd actually go both here, so I would give the advantage to the Chiefs here actually on offense. I think both teams have the X factor as well. So I think it's pretty tied up there on offense. And then defense, again, it's the same thing. I think overall the 49ers have the better defense, but Defensive line, you give to the Niners. Linebackers, you give to the Niners. But corners and safety, both those are Chiefs. I think the Niners have the X factor, but the Chiefs have the better special teams, and they have the better coaching as well to go along with it. Andy Reid's been here, done that 2 times already. So those are who I think have the advantages. Right now it's pretty equal, but let's go to the keys really quick. For the Chiefs, you're going to have to establish a running game. That's a huge key. Keep that clock going, get Pacheco going. Then you're going to have to slow down the Niners running game and McCaffrey. Keep it in the hands of Brock Purdy, and then give Mahomes time. I mean, if you give him time, he's going to find someone. So he'll get plays done if you give him some time. For the Niners, you got to lock down Kelsey, of course, and the Chiefs running game. If you get those two, it's kind of limited for Mahomes to do it all by himself. For the Niners, you're going to have to keep Mahomes off the field, get the play clock going, drain all the clock, use play action running game, of course, and McCaffrey. And then if you can get Mahomes uncomfortable, that's really going to favor the Niners in this one. So now it's finally time for my Super Bowl 58 prediction. I'm so excited for this game, and I am going to take the Kansas City Chiefs 31-28 by 3. The line is Niners 1.5. I'm going with the Chiefs by 3. Again, 5:30 on CBS, Nickelodeon, and Paramount Plus. In Vegas, I think the Chiefs win their, this would be their 3rd Super Bowl in the last 5 years. Championship-wise, this would be their 4th overall championship in franchise history. Congrats to the Chiefs, in my opinion. I think they're going to win this game. When you look at the Niners, they got away with 2 games. Packers game, they got away with it. They got a bit lucky. Lions game, same thing. I mean, they were squeaking by in these wins, coming back. You're not going to be able to come back against this Chiefs team. Let me tell you that. Mahomes has the lead. It's not going away, especially when you have that Chiefs defense alongside with it, with Spagnuolo, who's obviously done a tremendous job. So you can't come back. You cannot have a slow start. And I think they just might have another slow start. I think the Chiefs are going to come out, score early, take the lead, and I don't think they're going to give it up. And I think that's a problem with the Niners. They haven't been able to get that lead early. And you can't come back against Mahomes. Mahomes is a different animal. It's not Jared Goff, you know. This is not Jordan Love. This is Mahomes, the greatest quarterback of this generation. So it's going to be tough for them. The Niners defense has been smoked by the Lions and Packers in San Francisco. I think Mahomes is going to make some plays, going to find Rashee Rice, Pacheco, Kelsey. They're going to make some plays on offense and look good. I think the Chiefs defense makes a couple of big plays. I think they get an interception of Purdy as well. And I think they end up winning comfortably, although it will be a final score of just by 3. So thank you guys for watching. Hit the like, subscribe, comment what your Super Bowl 58 prediction is. And I will see you in the next one.